Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final live virtual tour hosted by the Japan National Tourism Organization and IACE Travel. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Siobhan, and I'm the marketing coordinator at JNTO's LA office, and I'll be today's moderator. Now, for the next 60 minutes, we'll be traveling to Nagano Prefecture as our final destination. And finally, for some housekeeping, all attendees are in listen-only mode. However, we welcome interactions. Please feel free to comment and ask questions using the Q&A function, which can be opened by clicking the icon located on the bottom of your screen. Today's tour is being recorded, so please email JNTO's LA office for access information if you're interested. Lastly, 3 lucky listeners will be randomly selected to each win a $300 gift card at the end of the series. To qualify, you must attend at least 3 of the virtual tours and complete at least 1 post-tour survey. And for today's tour, we'll be starting off in Kiso Valley to trek through the well-preserved post town of Narai along the Nakasendo Trail. Then we'll go to Matsumoto for a short city tour, and then to Nozawa Onsen to learn about its prime powder snow and hot spring experiences. And finally, we'll end the tour with the snow monkeys enjoying the natural onsen. To navigate us on our trek across the roof of Japan, I would like to hand things off to our tour guide today from IACE Travel, Crystal. Hello, Crystal.
Thank you, Siobhan. It's Crystal with IACE Travel, your tour leader on this virtual trip to Nagano. So, the Japanese Alps, which have some of the highest elevations, surround Nagano, creating the roof of Japan. Nagano's prime powder snow made it the perfect site for the 1998 Winter Olympics. And this prefecture is great for visitors who love outdoor activities, famous castles, and those adorably charming snow monkeys who are living the dream of keeping warm using the hot springs. Located in central Nagano, the city of Matsumoto is a great base for further exploration. From Tokyo, it's about a 3-hour train ride on the JR Limited Express. Then it's about an hour to get to Narai by taking the local JR line, or you can go by car. So on our first stop, let's head to the scenic Kiso Valley and check in with our local guide, Mr. Yamada. Good morning, Mr. Yamada. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon and good evening to the US people. How are you doing today, Crystal?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. It is nice weather today.
It looks beautiful.
Sorry, this is absolutely live. Just unexpectedly, the truck just came along, so it's a bit noisy.
Oh, no. It's okay. I don't hear the tractor, actually.
Okay. Well, welcome to Narai-juku. It's one of the post towns of Nakasendo. One question for you, Crystal. What is Nakasendo? Do you know what Nakasendo is?
Nakasendo. I think it's a trail.
Yes, this is an ancient trail. Back in Edo era, Tokugawa family created from Tokyo to Kyoto, which is about 335 miles. It's a really long, wide journey.
Wow. Nice.
Yes. Now, as you can see, this post town, Narai-juku, is actually longest post town, which is 0.6 miles long, which is the longest Nakasendo towns out of 69 post towns. Then a lot of people actually come to this post town for hiking experience mostly, but would you like to introduce the different element of the post town, what this post town can offer through this presentation?
Cool. Well, it already looks really nice, so let's go take a look.
Okay. So before moving into one of the artisan shop, I'd like to have the poll questions.
Oh, okay. Right. So it looks like out of the 69 post towns between Tokyo and Kyoto, how many are in Kiso Valley? The choices are A5, B11, or C22. So let's see what the audience says. And then I will let you know, Mr. Yamada. There's a lot of post towns. Well, looks like we might have lost camera on Mr. Yamada. But we do have answers here. So most of you, about half of you, think the answer is B, 11. Is that the right answer?
It is correct, 11.
Okay, and we can see you again, which is great.
Okay. So now we are moved into the one of the artisan place. It is a traditional Kiso Valley wood bending craftsman.
Nice.
And his name is Kojima-san. Is making the one of the our traditional. Hello, Kojima-san. こんにちは。おはようございます。おはようございます。今日はよろしくお願いします。So he has been doing it for long, and this town particularly, we do have many artisan shops. So this is one of them. Now he's making the the bento box out of Kiso cypress.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering what kind of wood that was.
It is actually Kiso cypress called sawara, also the hinoki. The two different types of Kiso cypress are used mainly.
Well, watching him
usually it takes, it's a several process in between, but usually it takes about 1 year to make one bento box. Of course, it's not that they're making probably 100 stocks first, then different process, dry, also the cuttings, also the urushi in there. So it's a lot of process, but it is also still traditional. They are doing a handmaking. It is kind of amazing process.
Yeah, it looks like it. I wonder how long he's been doing that for.
何年ぐらいも今やられてる? He has been doing this for 40 years.
Oh my goodness. So he's professional. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Then we would like to show you the products that he actually made. Do you know what kind of products are there? It's actually magu cup is here. It's over here.
Oh, that's cute.
Then this is actually bento box he has made out of cypress. Then I have another question for you. How long do you think it will last?
Well, it takes a while to make it. So hopefully forever.
Well, not forever, but it's very close. It's in average, it's over 20 years. It lasts for 20 years. So
Wow.
You can imagine how sustainable we are and making this bento box for 20 years. So basically, if you buy the plastic bento box, then I don't think we are using for 20 years. So this is absolutely $5 a year times 20 years. Then it is actually $100 US. Wow. It sounds very expensive, but again, last 20 years. So that's the point.
Well, definitely looks well made.
Also, this is how we use this bento box. This is one of our staff actually made this morning.
Oh, nice. Is that your lunch today?
Could be.
Hopefully. It looks delicious though.
So it is actually fresh and it keeps longer, so less humidity because actually timbers absorb the humidities.
Oh, nice.
So even after 5 or 6 hours, still fresh. That's how this product works. Okay. So now we would like to move to the poster itself. Also, another artisan shop.
I guess they're steaming it to make it soft to bend.
It is, but it takes probably 1 hour to make it soft to bend.
Wow.
Sorry, it's actually backyard is very long here, so it's very traditional as well.
It's kind of cool though. I didn't think it would be such a large place.
Okay. So now we move back to the main Narajuku Street. As I said, this is 0.6 miles long, which is the longest post town in Nakasendo. So you can see the very old fashioned style, Edo era. So if you come here, then you feel like you come back like Edo era 400 years ago, so still remains as it is. It's beautiful. Also, I would like to introduce this. This place is like a Japanese traditional accommodations. Also, this town you are able to stay for the experiences. So a lot of hikers come to the Naraijuku from a previous town called Yabuhara. Then there is a nice, beautiful walking trail around around 3 hours walk, and we are arriving at this post town also the stay. So it's going to be a very special experience for you.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was a beautiful inn that you pointed out earlier.
Yes, it is. So it is not so luxurious, but I must say, as for the experience, still share the facilities, but probably one night would be great experience for the clients.
Yeah.
In fact, no one here today, so which is great.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about crowds here at all.
Yeah. So now we are moving into the souvenir shops. Also, they sell a lot of lacquerware products.
Mm.
おはようございます。We would like to introduce Mr. Saito-san, who has been also the lacquerware artisan over 45 years. おはようございます、斉藤さん。斉藤さん、なんかどこかいいプロダクト商品があったら教えてもらいたいんですけども。Okay, this is his remarkable products out of Cyprus, also with urushi. It is earrings.
Wow.
You're not gonna find these earrings out of Japan, probably only Kiso, with urushi, so it's very much premium. It's about $20 per pair.
Oh. I think I got a little dizzy there. But so it's made out of cypress, and then they paint the lacquer over it?
Exactly. Then also, his shop is actually receiving a lot of international guests so far, including the United States. So you can see where all the United States people coming from.
Wow, that's a lot of pins there.
A lot of pins, but I can tell you that we need someone from Oklahoma. No one has not been here yet. So if somebody's watching this video or participating in this from Oklahoma, we would love to have someone here. Okay.
Send them over.
Absolutely. We show you around a little bit in the shop too. It's more remarkable products around here. Do you have any interest? Or do you want me to introduce anything very traditional here?
I'm not so sure, but they seem like really nice souvenirs to take home for people. There's so much to look at.
So much to look at, hours to spend easily. But probably if you come here, then walking in the town itself, visiting a lot of shops, then you have a full of souvenirs afterwards.
I think so.
Okay. This is also Saito-san's remarkable products. Tea coaster. Then after you take the tea bowl, we have America.
That's cute.
That's cute, isn't it?
It's super cute. I loved it. It would be so nice to take that home and drink tea out of it and remember Kiso Valley.
Absolutely.
It looks like someone says, I have clients in Oklahoma. We'll plan a trip as soon as we can travel. So I think your message reached.
Once border is open, we welcome all the United States people. Please be reminded, we definitely, if you're looking for something very unique experience, also the authentic experience, I think this Kiso Valley is a lot to offer. So we'd like to have you one day. Then also to sum up a little bit, apart from what we have, As for the activities, we are creating a lot of local activities, including the artisan shop experiences, making the Kiso, making the chopsticks out of Kiso cypress. But now, for the next season, we are going to offer a waterfall meditations. It's also the one of the pilgrimage areas in Kiso Valley. Then this is going to be on sale. Then if you are very interested in this kind of special experiences, we are more than happy to have inquiries through direct or through your respective DMC. Also, as I said, in this Kiso region, we do have over 20 local accommodations, upper end, also the lower end. So if you'd like to book any of the accommodation, Kiso Ontake Tourism Office is glad to help you.
Oh, seems like a real experience. Is there like an age limit for the waterfall experience, meditation
No
experience?
age limit, but it is absolutely cold.
It's
So
cold.
you have to have the very physical fit.
I see. Okay. I have to work on it.
Do you have any questions or otherwise?
Someone wants to know if the waterfall meditation is like, can men and women both do together?
Both can go together. There is a changing room before that. Then we are able to offer the traditional white kimono for the waterfall meditation as well.
I see. And actually, one more question.
Yes.
How much is that dish with the heart on it that you showed earlier?
Which one?
The dish with the heart on it.
Of course. This is $20.
Oh,
But
it
on
looks
top,
like
you can see the different urushi.
looks very textured too.
Very textured.
All right.
Okay, I think the time's up.
Okay.
But thank you for this fabulous opportunities. I would love to introduce more. But in order to sum up what we can offer, apart from what we have introduced, we would like you to watch our farm trip video. So please enjoy.
Thank you.
The Kiso Ontake area is actually a very fascinating area because of the variety that it offers. It offers absolutely everything for travelers, from amazing landscapes to warm locals, absolutely fascinating scenery and delicious food, and it really is a destination that has it all.
We spent 3 days on our tour here, and we went first of all to a cultural centre where we did all sorts of activities ranging from making soba noodles. We also learned how to make chopsticks. Then later on in the day we went to a typical artisan's workshop where he was making traditional wooden Japanese bowls, which was truly fascinating.
Japanese culture in general, or in particular the one you find in the Kiso Ontake area, is pretty amazing. And what really impressed me especially is that everything and everyone has a story to tell here, from the local artisans to the landscapes even, dating back to the Edo era. It's a place full of histories and stories, and that is reflected in every single aspect of this region.
And then on another day, we went on the Nakasendo Trail, walking between two post towns. The first part is very quaint, very typically Japanese, beautiful wooden houses. And as you ascend the trail, you become into more woodland area, which is quite breathtaking. And the views, you've got waterfalls, you've got beautiful scenery, and a little bit of wildlife if you're lucky.
It has been extremely interesting. First of all, because this is an historical trail, so you get to be in the nature, but you're also walking over history, let's say. So that's the part that I like the most.
I think what's very unique about the area for travelers is that they get a completely different experience here to the experience they get in other areas of Japan.
There's definite opportunities here. Maybe not for the first time traveller to Japan, but certainly people coming back for a second time. I think it's a little bit different, somewhere they wouldn't have seen first time round, and they'll get to see a different side of Japan, I think.
In Tokyo, you get the hustle and bustle, which also has its charm, obviously. But here you get the real, the more unseen and untouched Japan. So if you want to kind of go for the deeper experiences, then this is the place to be.
Well, thank you so much for taking us on a walk, Mr. Yamada. I always feel super refreshed by natural scenery, and it seems like that general atmosphere of the place is simple and enjoyable, and you will be walking through time there. Anyways, our guide, Noel from Elpico Holdings, is waiting. So let's head back to Matsumoto Station, where we'll take a private transfer and see what Matsumoto City has to offer. I think her train is arriving now. We'll head over to the train station.
Hello, everybody. So we just arrived in Matsumoto City. My name is Noel, and I work for the Elpico Group.
Elpico Group is a local tourism company that focuses mostly on hotels and transport. Located in the center of Japan, Matsumoto is easily accessible, and it's an ideal hub for exploring other places within Nagano Prefecture as well. It takes only a short hour by train or taxi to travel from the Kiso area where we just came from to Matsumoto.
So today I'm going to show you the most recommended places in Matsumoto. Fastest and easiest way to get around is to take a taxi that's right in front of the station, so that's what we're going to do now. Our first stop of the day, Matsumoto Castle. We are here at Matsumoto Castle, the famous icon of Matsumoto City, the national treasure of Japan. It's a very aesthetic castle, black and white exterior. And while it's a little cloudy today, on a clear day, it contrasts beautifully with the Japan Alps that you can see in the background. Now, what makes Matsumoto Castle extremely unique is the fact that it's the oldest original 5-story castle that still exists in Japan today. So Matsumoto Castle is definitely a must-see when you visit Matsumoto.
Throughout the city, you'll find remnants of Matsumoto's history as a castle town, such as the shopping streets Nawate and Nakamaki.
So here we are at the Matsumoto City Museum of Art, where you can find many interesting works made by this artist. This is Yaen-Koen, also called the Polka Dot Queen, and she was born and raised here in Matsumoto. Her most well-known work is probably the Yellow Pumpkin, which you can see inside the museum. Matsumoto has also a lot of other interesting museums, such as the Japan Ukiyo-e Museum, where you can find famous wood prints by various Japanese masters of the art.
After a day of sightseeing, mingle with the locals and experience Matsumoto's nightlife by heading to one of the many izakayas or bars and trying some of the wonderful local dishes. Home to many craft beer makers, sake breweries, and wineries, you'll also find a great variety of local drinks here for you to enjoy, so we highly recommend spending the night in Matsumoto and finding your favorite local dish and drink.
What's so so great about Matsumoto is that it has so many different things to offer. There's this rich history and culture, this deep connection to the arts, as well as beautiful nature that surrounds it. There are many scenic spots to be found in the Japan Alps that surround Matsumoto, and I'm going to introduce you to some of them. We've got a special experience waiting for us, so let's head there next.
Hello, good morning from Matsumoto and good evening to everyone in the US. I'm Noel, and I hope you're all doing well today. So after all that sightseeing that we saw in the video, we finally arrived at our accommodation, Shoho. So I already changed into my yukata and I'm ready to relax. So let's head inside. So Shoho is a traditional 5-star Japanese inn or ryokan, and as such, it has a lot of Japanese elements around, such as this samurai armor right here, as well as a few wonderful natural hot springs, which you can really enjoy while you're staying here. But the best part about spending the night at Shoho specifically is the view that you get of the Japan Alps right over here. The weather is absolutely amazing today, so you can get a good look of it. So seeing this, you can definitely understand why they call Nagano the roof of Japan. It is especially beautiful at sunset and sunrise. So if you like the outdoors and you want to do some hiking, you can go to this beautiful place called Kamikochi, which we saw in the video. We highly recommend going there. And if you want to go there, you can just get a taxi at the front desk, and it will take you straight into the heart of the Japan Alps. So today, we have a special candy making experience for you. But before we start that, I just want to show you a video of how the candy is made and tell you about the connection between the candy and Matsumoto. So let's watch that. Okay, so how is candy related to Matsumoto? Well, it actually all started with salt. So in the 16th century, during the Warring States period, there were 3 warlords who were fighting for power over this region. And one of the warlords decided to cut off the salt supply to weaken the second warlord. Of course, this resulted in suffering of the people right here. However, the third warlord, who was considered the enemy of the people at the time, actually sent salt to help the people of this area. And to commemorate this historic event, they held a huge festival, which they called Shioichi at first, salt market, but they changed it to Ameichi, candy market, to represent the things that were sold, the candy that was sold to celebrate this event. At the time, Matsumoto was actually the largest candy producing area in all of Japan. And you can still find a few of those shops that were built around that time right now. And one of those shops is the Amaya Candy Factory, built in 1672. So we've invited the head of the shop, Mr. Ota, today, and he's already busy with the candy. So today we're going to be making temari ball shaped candy. And what's the temari ball? It's this right over here. So it's an embroidered thread ball and one of Matsumoto's most well-known folk craft. This is actually the biggest one in all of Japan, but today we're going to make a lot smaller ones, of course. So Mr. Oda is going to be doing the most of the work today because, of course, as a master of the art, he's pretty good and pretty fast at it. So we started with this white candy that you saw in the video, and then just had some colored pieces of candy that we're just gonna stretch, cut, and then stick onto the white piece of candy to make the pattern for our temari balls. So the activity itself is usually done at the Amaya Candy Factory, and it's held almost every Saturday and Sunday in a traditional Japanese room that can fit up to 6 people. So all in all, it usually takes about 45 minutes, the entire experience, and costs 2,200 yen per person. And of course, after making your candy, you get to take your handmade candy home with you in a Ziploc bag. There are many food-related activities to be found in Matsumoto. Also, for example, soba making workshop. And there are also a lot of non-food related cultural activities, such as a samurai sword fighting class, or you can learn how to play a traditional Japanese instrument, such as a taiko drum or a shamisen. Of course, with nature being so close, please enjoy nature as well while you're here. So Mr. Oda has finished cutting and rolling the candy into the right size to fit into this machine, which is what we're going to use to cut the candy. So I'm just going to take this top part off. We're going to put it on the grill, and then slowly but steadily, while applying a little bit of pressure, I'm going to try cutting these candies. And by doing this, by doing it simultaneously, it will also make the candy round. Let's hope it works. It's a little cold today. Okay, oh, they come out already. So here they are. And as you can see, I wasn't strong enough, and it's a little bit cold today, so they harden quickly. So they are stuck together a little bit. Let's just put them all on the front here. Our small temari balls. But actually, this is so let's just put this on front. This is actually a very good thing, because here's the trick. If you have it like this and you drop it, oh no. Yes, it's a little bit hard today. The weather is cold, but if you drop it, they come apart like that. So let's taste one. Very tasty, a little bit sticky as well. So this candy is actually made with rice and a little bit of malt instead of sugar. So no sugar is used, which makes this a pretty healthy piece of candy, considering. And that's a very good thing, because I think I could keep eating these things forever. Besides these temari ball shaped candies, you can also make this right here, a lollipop. And of course, after you made all that, you can take them home with you in the Ziploc bag. So I think that's about all the time we have for today. I want to thank you for joining me on this short tour through Matsumoto. I hope you enjoyed and get a lot of have an idea of what great things this area has to offer. If you need more information on transport or accommodations, please visit Alpico Group's website at alpico.co.jp/en. Or for more general information about Matsumoto, you can visit matsumoto.com. So the weather is great. So I'm just going to go outside and enjoy the view that we have right here. I still have my candy. So today, it's actually not, well, it's still cold because it's early in the morning, but you can feel that spring is coming. And we have a lovely little foot bath right here. So I'm just gonna go and sit here and enjoy the foot bath today. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you in Matsumoto soon. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Wow. So even though there's so much to do, it still gives you like this feeling that, you know, this vast nature around you. I think that's really wonderful. IACE Travel can also help book tours offered by Alpico Holdings, so feel free to contact us. Okay. All right, from Matsumoto, Nozawa Onsen is just under 2 hours away. You can take the local JR line to the bullet train, but then you'll need to take a car from the station. You can also take a private car the whole way for about the same amount of time. Today, we're going to hop on our private transfer with Nozawa Onsen Kotsun Taxi. Then Blair will show us traditional accommodations at Sakaya Ryokan before soaking in the hot springs. And then afterwards, Luke will take us for a stroll around town. So let's hop in and meet our guides.
Hi everyone, so my name is Blair and I'm joining you right now from in front of Ryokan Sakaya, a traditional Japanese inn in Nozawa Onsen village. This inn has been passed down for over 17 generations with the same family. It has a lot of great rooms and it has an amazing hot spring bath that I'd like to show you. So why don't we go inside and take a look.
Room 301. Kinoto. Okay. Here we are. Ooh. This is a pretty big room. Wow. Very beautiful. Traditional Japanese style tatami mat floor. I wonder what view do we have here? Oh. And it's a very snowy day in Nozawa Onsen. So is this right? Right on top?
Left.
Left on top. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Left on top.
Okay.
Okay, and now?
Obi-o-makimasu.
Okay, so now I just wrap this around. You got that. Great.
A trip to Nozawa wouldn't be complete without a dip in a hot spring bath, and Ryokan Sakai's bath is hard to beat. Its wooden interior was built in the Miyadaiku style, traditionally used for temples and shrines. You could lose track of time soaking in the water and staring at the ceiling's beautiful craftsmanship.
Very interesting thing.
Like most of Nozawa's baths, these use 100% mineral water straight from the source. The hot spring water isn't reused or recirculated. This is the gold standard for hot springs, known in Japanese as Gensen Kakenagashi. If you're like me, you may be sleepy after a long soak in the hot springs. While I sip some tea and take a nap on the tatami, enjoy a look at Nozawa Onsen Ski Resort, one of, if not the best, reason to visit during winter.
Hi, Luke.
Hi guys, how you going?
Doing good. How are you?
Very well.
Looks
Welcome.
cold.
It is a little, yeah, about 30 degrees Fahrenheit today, so not as cold as usual, but not too bad either. But thanks everyone for joining me in Nozawa today. I'm going to take you for a little stroll through the main street. We've seen a little bit of what Nozawa has to offer already, but I'd like to just talk to you a little bit about Nozawa's history and hopefully give you a better understanding of the feel of Nozawa and the town in general. Now, I'm standing in the Shotengai, the main commercial district of Nozawa. It's only a few hundred yards long, but I'm surrounded by shops, restaurants, bars, ski and hire shops, cafes, restaurants that service the locals and the visitors all year round, particularly in winter. It's pretty quiet at the moment, other than the morning traffic doing deliveries. But in the evenings, you'll find that it does become a little hive of activity. It's only about 9:30 in the morning local time, so still not much going. But most things begin to come awake at about 10 a.m. Now, Nozawa, as you probably realise, has a long history of skiing. The resort has been in operation for about 100 years. And situated as we are, tucked right up under Mount Kanashi, it's a perfect spot for a ski resort and has turned really into an international destination for skiing. But I think the most important part of Nozawa's identity isn't the snow, it's the onsen. Nozawa Onsen was established around the springs in this area almost 1,000 years ago, well, more than 1,000 years ago. And they've been hosting guests in onsen ryokans and hotels at least since the late Edo period and probably before. But that's as long as we know records-wise at the moment. There are about 200 onsen hotels and ryokans and bed and breakfasts in town. So all levels of accommodation accounted for. But with such a wide range of facilities, it's important to understand that Nozawa is very compact as well. It's only a tiny village. Nothing in town is really more than a 10-minute walk from where I'm standing, which does go a long way to making a really relaxing experience. Because when you're in town, you arrive for a short stay in the mountains. There's you don't have to go anywhere. You don't need to take buses or taxis once you're here. The access to the lifts, the resorts, and any restaurants, bars, places you may want to visit, it's all walkable, all really easy. Now I'm coming up to one of my favourite little shops, House St. Anton. It takes its name from Nozawa Onsen, sister town in Austria, St. Anton. There's been a lot of cultural exchange since skiing began in Japan. It really came via Austria to Japan, and lots of the local guys speak pretty good German. But these days, of course, English is the most spoken language in town after Japanese. But let's go and have a look at what St. Anton has to offer. I'm going to try today an oyaki, which is a Nagano specialty. Actually, you'll find them in other places, but in Nozawa particularly, they're steamed along the main street in these large wooden boxes. The oyaki, usually with a savoury filling. Not always. I'm getting myself an apple one this morning. They're a great little snack to go with coffee. And St. Anton, of course, serves a great coffee as well. This particular one, filled with apple, like I said, sourced from the local valley around. The northern Nagano region is rich in agricultural areas, peaches, pears, plums, apples. And this shop sells very tasty oyaki, as well as jams, juices. You can see inside the shop pickles, local vegetables that are sourced from the local valley. This is one of the many great little craft establishments in town.
We have little jam jars too.
Yeah, lots of little jam jars, all homemade in the village, not in the main store here, but in their factory just at the 2-lane main road. And most of the crafts are made in town. It's a really quite industrious little town because agriculture is, after skiing, one of the mainstays of village life. But what I'd like to talk about now is probably a little bit more about the hot springs. As I mentioned earlier, the village was founded around the hot springs about 1,000 years ago. And you may have seen in the clip that there are 13 public springs. One thing it didn't mention is that there are also 3 public springs, those ones. There are many others, of course, in the onsen hotels, and there are some larger complexes like Furusata no Yu or Sparina, which have outside pools as well. But the public springs are really, the backbone of the village, I think. The onsen meguri, they're located in each little district of town. They're operated and maintained by those small community groups. And so they act as a bit of a hub. The local groups get together to clean, maintain, pay for electricity, and they drop in themselves most evenings or mornings as well. They're a great little site, and they're a perfect accompaniment to skiing or mountain bike riding and hiking for that matter. You come down at the end of the day and you can have a long soak. They are very basic though. Essentially, they're just a big spring built on top, a big building built on top of a spring, I should say. And there's nothing else in there. There's no front desk or anyone to see. So when you walk on in, shoes off, you're immediately into a small changing area. And then from there, you'll see the big open tub in front of you surrounded by tiles, much like the layout you saw with Blair in the clip earlier. They are very hot, but like I said, they're perfect for skiing. They're all alkaline springs, so the water boils up in Nozawa. They're all full of magnesium. They help break up the lactic acid in the muscles, so you really must try when you're here. We'll be coming up soon to Oyu Onsen, which is the biggest of the 13 free springs in town. It's a big, intricately carved wooden building. It looks a bit like a temple. It's well lit up at night as well. So you can't miss it when you're walking around town, especially if you've had a sake or two. Especially if you've had a sake or two and you can't find your way home. Oyu is a great reference point. You'll see it, all roads lead back to Oyu, and from there you can either find your way home to your accommodation, or you'll definitely find someone who knows where your accommodation is. So the heart and soul of Nozawa really is the springs. We're coming up now towards Oyu, but we're also in front of Tokiwaya Ryokan, which is another one similar to Sakaya, multi-generational, old school ryokan hotel. This place is famous, and whether it's myth or reality, we're not quite sure. But in the Warring States period, the story goes that a traveling army led by a feudal lord, a daimyo, happened to spend some time in Nozawa and wanted to enjoy the sights, the tea shops and the restaurants and whatnot, but was advised against it because of the danger of assassination. But the eldest son of the proprietor offered himself to dress as the daimyo, so the daimyo could go out incognito and and stay safe. So they really do go above and beyond in the hospitality states, I think.
Wow.
Really is something.
Yeah,
As you turn around, you'll see Oyu Onsen here, and I'm going to walk up and around the corner so you get a better view of it.
Oh, wow.
So follow me up now.
That's a gorgeous building. And it's
It
just
is
built
beautiful.
over the hot springs.
Exactly. Oyu has its own source. Not all of the onsens in town have their own hot spring source, but Oyu's right on top of the spring. Most of the hot water in town actually comes up at Ogama, the Ogama district, which is just above us here and up behind the camera. It boils up there at 96 Celsius, which is 205 Fahrenheit. So that one's not for dipping your feet in. That one's pooled out and reserved for other activities, mostly feeding the small onsens further down in town that don't have their own source. But also there's pools there for softening vines for basket weaving, and you can sample some of the, you can go and have a look at some of the wares up at the shops above us. And of course, boiling food. Onsen boiled corn and eggs are always on. So if you go for a stroll up in that part of town, you can grab some of the local wares, a local juice, and take a seat in the Yurari Kutspa, which is a great little, terrace, I suppose, with some bench seats and hot water in the troughs where you can sit down and watch the sun go down on a nice sunny afternoon. Another part of town, which is close by and worth a look really, is the spiritual heart of Nozawa. Just up above me to the right, there's the Yuzawa Shrine and Temple Complex, set in amongst a grove of ancient sugi trees, beautiful big area, and like I said, right up above the village, so it's another great place to get pictures of the town and surrounds. So by all means, go and have a stroll if you manage to visit us here. But yeah, all in all, Nozawa, as I mentioned, is a beautiful, compact village, and it's really a great place for a short trip to the mountains. So we hope you can come and join us at some stage. And that's more or less all I have time for, but I'd like to just finish with a short quiz. We mentioned, of course, that Nozawa has a long history in skiing, over 100 years. And of course, being the heartland of Japan's ski culture, they've produced many Olympic athletes for the Winter Olympic Games over the years. So I'd just like to ask the folks watching at home, how many Olympic athletes do you think that Nozawa has produced, considering that it's only a really small village, 3,500 people roughly in population at the moment. So do people at home think it's 5, 10, 15, or 50? Let me know.
Okay, let's see what they have to say. 5, 10, 15, or 50 Winter Olympic athletes from this Nozawa Onsen village area, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. It seems like a lot of people guessed 15, and then after
Which happens to be 15 is spot on. What was the second amount?
I'm sorry?
What was the second amount?
Oh, the second one, it wasn't too close, but it was 50.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of people.
Hopefully in the next few years, more of the junior burgers coming through will make it to the big scene too. I mean, skiing in Japan, in Nozawa, is still actually a subject in school, so a lot of the kids are involved.
Oh, wow. It's like a PE.
It's in their blood, really.
Physical
Exactly,
education. Yeah. Oh, that's great.
You may see more in the future. Awesome. But yeah, thanks very much for joining me here. If there's any questions from anyone at home, I'm happy to answer. But otherwise, if you do make the travel, of course, the Nozawa Onsen Information Centre and any of the shops and establishments in town are happy to help you once you're here. So I hope to see you soon in Nozawa Onsen, Japan. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, Luke. So it seems like there is so much to do in such a small area, and like it's kind of perfect pairing of skiing and onsen, especially that it's breaking up like all of that lactic acid in your muscles. So I thought that must be why the Winter Olympic athletes are from there. Okay, so our next part, it is finally time to head to Jigokudani Wild Monkey Park, home of our famous hot spring loving snow monkeys. And even though they primarily enjoy the hot springs during the winter, but these park residents can be seen lazing about year-round, even during the summer. From Nozawa Onsen to Jigokudani, it's about a 50-minute car ride, and then there's an easy 25-minute walking trail to get to the actual hot springs. So let's go. Oh my gosh, isn't that so cute? I'm normally not really a fan of monkeys, but it was too cute not to like. Now it is time for our final poll. So, what was your favorite part of today's tour? We have A, Narai, B, Matsumoto City, C, Nozawa Onsen, D, Jigokudani Snow Monkey Park, or E, all of it. Siobhan, did you have a favorite part?
I enjoyed all of it. I've been to Nagano before, but just to visit family. So I loved seeing all the tourist destinations I could add on my next relative trip out there.
Yeah, it all seemed really manageable and enjoyable. So I think the pacing of that area is really nice.
I completely agree.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Most people seem to enjoy all of it. We had a few people who really love some of the other areas too. Anyways, Nagano offers an abundance of scenery from samurai-era townscapes to the panoramic mountain vistas of the Japanese Alps. IACE's FIT package invites you to become a shogun for 10 days, which is ideal for fans of Japanese culture and history. Our castle expert has carefully selected 7 incredible castles, including the one in Matsumoto. In this reasonable package, your clients get to experience the uniqueness of each location at their own pace. For an adventure, the 5-day Alpine route package is perfect. A train pass will whisk your clients away to Kiso Valley, Matsumoto, and the Alpine route, where breathtaking views await. And for a quick day trip in Nagano, our scenic Kiso Valley Trail Walk follows the historic Nakasendo Trail and visits some well-preserved post towns similar to Narai. Along with these pre-made packages, IACE Travel offers customizable group packages and FIT trips. So let us consolidate and organize the arrangements in one convenient place. Our products and service are in our latest digital brochure. We look forward to hearing from you.
All right, thank you so much to Crystal and all of our guides tuning in all over from Nagano. We do have a couple minutes for a short Q&A, and then this time Blair Guardia, who you saw enjoying the hot springs in Nozawa Onsen, is actually going to be joining us. So please continue to ask your questions. And while we wait for the questions to come in, Crystal, did you have something you wanted to ask Blair?
Yes, actually. Blair, I noticed you were wearing a towel in the onsen you were at. Is that something they let you do there?
that was to protect my own modesty, but normally in the hot spring you would not wear a towel. There are some hot springs where men and women can bathe together, and usually in those hot springs you can wear a towel. But generally when it's separated by gender, in that case, you would not bring a towel into the bath with you.
All right, good to know. Here, we do have some questions coming in, so very quickly, I'm going to throw them to you, Blair. What's the area like during the summer? We saw a lot of great winter activities, so yeah.
Well, the mountains are definitely a highlight of Nagano. So for anybody who's interested in the outdoors, instead of skiing, you have the opportunity to go hiking, trekking, cycling, mountain biking. I mean, there's a lot of great outdoor activities to enjoy. And then, as you saw, Matsumoto Castle, the Nakasendo, those post towns, you can see any time of year. And as Crystal mentioned, the snow monkeys are good to see. I mean, we call them the snow monkeys, but they're great to see during summer too. That time of year, actually, there are baby monkeys around as well. So you can enjoy seeing the little baby monkeys learning how to climb on the branches and playing with each other. So there's a lot of great stuff to do during summer as well.
Completely adorable. Speaking of monkeys, we do have a question. Are they aggressive?
No. I mean, they fight with each other sometimes, but one of the nice things about the Snow Monkey Park is that the monkeys, they generally only come down to the park to hang out in the onsen and to get a little bit of food from the keepers. But they don't think of people having food. They don't think of people as a food source because they're removed from town. So the monkeys don't attack people. They just kind of wander around, do their own thing, and you can see them up close without having to worry.
Fantastic. Do remember though, these are wild monkeys, so please don't feed them because then they will get aggressive, and do not join them in the hot springs, as adorable as they are. Enjoy our human focused hot springs. And then I think this is kind of general, but the onsen in Nagano are also open year-round, correct? Even in the summer?
Yes. Yeah, you can take a dip in the hot springs any time of year.
In my experience, it's great to really wash off all that summer heat in the hot spring at the end of the day. So still enjoyable even in the middle of a hot, humid summer. And then in Nagano, Luke showed us some fun food there, but how easy is it to manage medical dietary restrictions such as allergies, celiac disease, when you're off the beaten track, such as in Nagano?
If you have serious dietary restrictions, that's something that you would probably have to plan with the places that you're staying at in advance. While places are becoming more accommodating to different dietary restrictions, if you have allergies in particular, you want to make sure that you have some way to communicate that properly with the restaurants you're visiting. And while some places can accommodate that, you'll want to maybe reserve and plan those things ahead of time. So if you're, working for clients and you're booking hotels, we do know of hotels that can accommodate certain dietary restrictions. So that's something that you can communicate with travel agencies and then possibly with us as well.
Great. And of course, remember your friendly neighborhood IACE travel, and they're always there to help you. So I think that's it for the questions. I have one final question for you, Blair. What would you say are some charms unique to Nagano that sets it apart from the rest of the prefectures in Japan?
That's giving me a hard question here.
Yes.
Well, I like to think of Nagano. Well, Nagano is called the roof of Japan. It's surrounded by the Japanese Alps, some of the tallest mountains in the country. So one of the things that I find unique about Nagano is the mix of traditional sightseeing spots like Matsumoto Castle and the post towns of the Nakasendo, surrounded by majestic mountain views. And that's something that you can't really see anywhere else.
All right, that sounds very appealing. I can't wait to put Nagano on my bucket list. So thank you again. That is all the time we have for today. In fact, we went a little bit over, but I think that was perfectly great. So thank you so much. I hope everyone was able to enjoy our live virtual tour of Nagano. Here's the contact information for JNTO, Nagano Tourism Organization, and IACE Travel. The information for the other organizations that joined us today with their fabulous tours will be included in the thank you email, so keep an eye out for that. And please feel free to contact any of us if you have any additional questions. And unfortunately, that was the last of our virtual tour series. I hope that everyone was able to enjoy the prefectures of Okinawa, Ishikawa, Gifu, and Nagano. Please remember that you must watch at least 3 of the tours and answer at least one of the post-tour surveys in order to be eligible to win one of 3 $300 gift cards. If you would like access to the recordings of Okinawa, Ishikawa, or today's Nagano, please email JNTO's LA office for access information. And the last date to fulfill these requirements is going to be March 12th, 2021. After this session ends, you will be redirected to our survey, so we would greatly appreciate just a few more moments of your time to get your feedback. And finally, do we have any final comments from Blair on behalf of Nagano?
Yes, so I hope that you all had an enlightening and entertaining virtual trip to Nagano today. You know, we visited one of its ancient post towns, castles, hot spring villages, and last but not least, the adorable snow monkeys. From all of us here at Nagano, thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you so much, Blair. And finally, anything from Crystal, our tour guide of the day for all 4 of these tours on behalf of IACE Travel?
Well, I am really honored to work with JNTO. They're amazing staff and all of the prefectures we've gotten to see. I know whenever I'm looking for information, I always go to JNTO first because it's so easy to look at. But I'd also like to commend all of the participants for making an effort to learn during a time when tourism across the globe is taking a vacation of its own. These preparations are really important, and we hope that IACE Travel can be a helpful ally and friend in our mutual pursuit to foster incredible experiences and lifelong memories for your clients.
Thank you so much, Crystal. Thank you for being our tour guide for this tour series. Thank you again to all of our guides, Nagano, Okinawa, Ishikawa, Gifu, Crystal, IACE Travel, and to all of you joining us today and any of our other tours. We very much appreciate your time, and I also very much enjoyed going on all of these tours with you, and hope that you'll be able to join us again for our future adventures. So thank you, and see you next time.